The tension in the studio of The View was almost physical, like a storm cloud hanging over a room with too many secrets. Michael B. Jordan, one of Hollywood's most celebrated and respected actors, sat at the iconic round table with his jaw clenched and his eyes narrowing ever so slightly. He had come to promote his new action film, expecting the usual lighthearted questions, a few playful jabs, and maybe a viral soundbite or two. But this would not be a normal appearance. By the time the segment ended, it would become one of the most talked about walk-offs in live television history, an unexpected collision of fame, identity, and fury. Michael entered the studio, flashing the magnetic smile that had made him a fan favorite. Clad in a sharp charcoal suit, he greeted the hosts with a firm handshake and the kind of natural charisma that seemed to melt cameras. Whoopi Goldberg welcomed him with warmth. Joy Behar cracked a joke about his abs, and the audience roared. But Sonny Hostin, stoic, arms crossed, face unreadable, offered nothing but a thin nod. From that moment, the air seemed to change. Michael, Whoopi began. We've all seen the trailers. You're hanging off helicopters, diving through flaming buildings. Did you really do all your own stunts? Michael's face lit up. I try to push myself, he said enthusiastically. I want audiences to believe what they're watching. This time around, I definitely gave my stunt coordinator some gray hairs. Laughter rippled through the studio. Even Sarah and Joy smiled. But Sonny didn't flinch. She let him finish, then leaned forward, tone flat and loaded. That's all very impressive, she said, voice laced with sarcasm. But what I really want to know is why you think audiences should care about yet another mindless action film when there are real issues in the world. Michael blinked, caught off guard but still composed. I believe entertainment serves a purpose. Especially in difficult times, people need escapism. Escapism, Sonny repeated, practically spitting the word. How convenient for someone in your position promoting fantasy while real people suffer. Joy tried to interject. Sonny, come on, he's here to talk about the movie. But Sonny wasn't done. Her gaze bore into Michael like a drill. You're one of the few black actors to reach this level of success. And instead of using your platform for something meaningful, you're playing characters who blow things up and kiss pretty women. Michael gripped the arms of his chair. With all due respect, you have no idea what I do with my platform. I've created production companies to elevate black filmmakers. I've funded scholarships. I've supported numerous community initiatives. Oh please. Sonny waved her hand dismissively. A few tax write-offs don't make up for perpetuating the angry black man or violent hero stereotypes. That was the moment the studio froze. No laughter, no whispers, just stillness. Michael took a breath, voice measured but firm. I tell stories that matter to people. Stories about redemption, family, overcoming adversity. If you watched my films instead of making assumptions, you'd know that. Spare me the press release, Sonny snapped. When was the last time you turned down a paycheck because a character didn't uplift the community? When was the last time you said no to a script because it leaned on stereotypes? Whoopi stepped in gently. Let's all take a breath. No, Michael, cut in, voice rising. I'll answer. I've walked away for more money than you can imagine. I've fought to change scripts, to ensure characters had depth, to hire diverse crews. But you've already decided who I am, haven't you? Based on what? A few movie posters. Sonny's laugh was dry and sharp. Oh, so now you're the victim. Poor millionaire movie star being questioned about his choices. Michael leaned forward. You're questioning my blackness, my integrity, my career based on your personal opinion about action movies. I'm questioning your priorities. Sonny shot back. You have influence. You have young black men watching you. And what do you give them? Designer suits and explosions. Joy and Sarah looked deeply uncomfortable. Whoopi tried again to steer the show back to neutral ground, but it was too late. This wasn't about film promotion anymore. Michael shook his head slowly. We're two successful black people. We should be lifting each other up. But instead, you're tearing me down because my version of success doesn't look like yours. Sonny narrowed her eyes. Don't make this about black unity. This is about accountability. Michael's voice was steady but firm. I came here for an interview, not an interrogation, and certainly not to be lectured by someone who's appointed herself the moral compass of black celebrity. The atmosphere dropped 10 degrees. Sonny's eyes flashed. She slammed her palm on the table, making mugs tremble. I'm doing my job. Journalists ask hard questions. Maybe you're too comfortable to handle scrutiny. Michael raised his eyebrows in disbelief. You haven't asked me a single question about my work. You've made assumption after assumption. That's not journalism, that's character assassination. Sarah found her voice. Maybe we should steer this back to the film. But Sonny bulldozed over her. You want to talk about work? Fine. In your last 5 films, you've played the same brooding, physically imposing black man. Do you not see how that feeds stereotypes? Michael's hands were now fists. Fact check that. I've played a civil rights lawyer, a father, rebuilding his life, a sci-fi pilot and, yes, 2 action heroes. But clearly, facts don't matter when you've already made up your mind. Sunny's tone was cold. I've done my research. You've played it safe, always. You mean I've succeeded, Michael replied, and you resent the path I took to get here. The crowd murmured. Phones came out. The control room panicked. Producers gestured frantically. Off-camera Michael stood abruptly, then sat back. Down his self-control was hanging by a thread. You sit at this table every day, collecting a check from Disney, and you want to lecture me about challenging the system. Sunny's voice rose. I speak truth to power. From the comfort of this desk, with makeup on and cue cards ready, Michael fired back. You want impact. I've created hundreds of jobs. I mentor actors. I fund schools. But because I make blockbusters, you call it selling out. Whoopi tried again. Everyone, please, but Sunny wasn't done. Your problem is, you bought into your own hype. You think you're a hero because you look good on a poster. Michael stared at her, voice calm but piercing. Ambushing a guest because of your own bitterness. That's your idea of heroism. I have standards, she said coldly, and you think I fall short. Michael asked. You do? The room had never been this tense. Joy reached out. Okay, that's enough. Michael stopped her with a raised hand. Let her finish. I want to hear how I've failed the black community by being successful. Sunny pointed at him. You think getting paid is winning. What about integrity? Michael looked at her with disbelief. Entertainment provides joy. Jobs, representation. But you're too locked into your own definition of value to see it. You could do more, Sunny snapped. You should. Michael pushed back from the table. This time, he stood up fully. I came here to have a conversation, he said. But this is a public flogging. You've appointed yourself judge, jury, and executioner of black excellence. Sit down, Sunny commanded. No, Michael said. I don't owe you or anyone else a defense of my existence. I won't be your punching bag. He reached for his mic, unclipped it from his lapel, and handed it to the tech. The feedback rang sharply in the silent studio. Sunny taunted, walking away. Can't handle a tough question. Michael turned back. I'm not walking away because I can't handle you. I'm walking away because this isn't a real conversation. This is performance. And I respect myself too much to play this part. Sunny laughed bitterly. You respect your bank account. Michael stepped forward. Security tensed. No, I'm honest about what I do. I tell stories. I build. You sit here judging everyone who doesn't match your idea of perfection. You call it journalism. It's judgment. Whoopi intervened. Michael, please let's take a breath. Michael shook his head. No disrespect to the rest of you, but I won't be accused, condemned, and belittled on national TV. This isn't what I signed up for. Sunny's voice followed him. Sorry, this wasn't the usual softball PR fluff. He walked to the studio exit. The room was silent. Every eye on him. His hand hit the door. He paused it but didn't turn around. Then, without another word, he pushed the door open and disappeared backstage. The studio exploded. Half the audience booed Sunny. The other half clapped. Phones were up. The View had just made history. The moment Michael B. Jordan exited the studio, everything descended into chaos. Some in the audience rose to their feet, clapping for the actor's boldness. Others shouted angrily, accusing Sunny of crossing the line. A few audience members hurled insults. The live taping had ended, but the storm was only just beginning. Sunny Hostin remained standing, breathing heavily, visibly rattled, yet clinging to a false calm. A slight smirk twitched at the corner of her mouth, but her eyes betrayed something else, something she didn't want to name. The studio had been left in shambles. Whoopi Goldberg, hands on her hips, stood silent for a beat before speaking. That was completely inappropriate, she said, her voice slicing through the noise. Like a razor, we invited that man here as a guest, not a target. Sunny slowly lowered herself back into her seat, adjusting her dress as though the confrontation hadn't just torn the room apart. I did my job, she replied flatly. If he can't handle tough questions, maybe he should stick to rehearsed lines and red carpets. Joy Behar leaned forward, her expression aghast. Those weren't tough questions. That was personal. You decided he was guilty before he even said hello. Guilty of what? Sunny asked, with her chin high. Of wasting his potential. Of choosing paychecks over principles. Someone had to say it. Sarah Haynes, the usual voice of peace on the panel, couldn't contain her frustration. But why like that? Why ambush him? Why not have a real conversation instead of ... whatever? That was, Sunny turned to her, cold. Because conversations don't create pressure. They let people off the hook. Michael B. Jordan has been given a pass for too long. And today, I held up a mirror. From the audience, a woman stood and shouted, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Her voice cracked with emotion, and she had tears in her eyes. Security quickly stepped in, trying to calm the rising fury as arguments broke out across the studio. Whoopi raised her hands, commanding attention. We need to go to commercial, she said to the control room. But the cameras were still rolling for the live audience, capturing every second of this television implosion. Sunny, unfazed, turned directly to the cameras. "I'm not going to apologize," she said, chin raised. "Not for doing real journalism. Not for asking why one of the most visible black actors in America continues to play roles that glamorize violence. While black communities suffer," Joy was stunned. "It's not the fact you asked questions, Sunny. It's how you asked them. There's a difference between challenge and humiliation." "Oh please," Sunny scoffed. "He's a grown man. He makes millions. He walked out because he couldn't take the heat. That proves everything I said." Meanwhile, backstage, producers were scrambling. Michael's team was already packing up. The executive producer knocked softly on his dressing room door, asking if he wanted to issue a statement or record a response. Michael said nothing. He was seated in a chair, head down, breathing deeply as his publicist fielded calls from every major outlet. Back on stage, another audience member stood. "You owe him an apology. That was disgusting." Sunny's head snapped toward the woman. "I owe him nothing. I owe the truth to the viewers. I'm not here to stroke ego. Here to ask real questions." "You didn't ask questions," someone else called out. "You interrogated him like he was on trial." The control room was in full crisis mode. The show's director didn't know whether to cut the feed or let it ride. It was also the most compelling television they'd had in years. Whoopi stepped in again. Her voice thundered across the studio. "Enough, we're going to commercial. And when we come back, we are moving on. Since when do we shy away from hard truths?" Sunny challenged. "Since we decided to be decent human beings," Sarah said softly, but her words rang louder than the chaos around them. Sunny whipped around. "Decent? Is it decent to let celebrities walk through life unquestioned because they smile nice and make money? I think it's decent," Sarah replied, "to treat guests like human beings, not punching bags." The studio audience was now divided. Arguments erupted in nearly every row. Security was doing their best to calm tensions, but the damage was done. Sunny stood once more, her voice pitched for the crowd. "You can boo all you want," she said. "Someone has to ask the questions no one else will. These celebrities think muscles and movie deals mean they're above criticism." A woman in the front row stood. "My son looks up to Michael B. Jordan. He sees a man who worked hard and built something. What's wrong with that?" "What's wrong," Sunny shot back, "is that he could be doing more. He could be fighting systems. He could be challenging norms. Instead, he makes movies where people punch each other. He does more than that," someone yelled. "He hires black crews. He funds schools. He mentors kids." Sunny didn't flinch, and it's not enough. Not when you have that much power. Whoopi's patience finally snapped. "Sunny, stop. You've made your point. You've driven away our guest. You've divided our audience. What more do you want?" "I want people to expect more," Sunny answered, but this time her voice wavered. She looked around. For the first time, the room didn't feel like it was backing her up. Even those who had nodded at the beginning were now silent or visibly uncomfortable. She sat down slowly, smoothing her notes. Staring down at the table, the stage manager signaled. They were coming back from commercial. The hosts took their seats reluctantly. The music played softly as the show returned to air. Whoopi addressed the camera directly. "We want to apologize to our viewers for what just transpired. Discussions can be passionate, but that's no excuse for losing sight of basic decency. Michael B. Jordan is a gifted actor and a respected voice, and we regret that his visit ended this way." Sunny opened her mouth to speak. Whoopi didn't even look at her. "We'll be right back after this break." As the cameras cut, the fallout began in real time. Social media exploded. The hashtag The View Meltdown was trending within 5 minutes. Clips of the confrontation circulated like wildfire. Entertainment sites had already prepared headlines. "Michael B. Jordan walks off The View." "Sunny Hostin confronts Hollywood star." "Televised train wreck." The View Michael's publicist's phone was flooded. News outlets wanted quotes. Journalists were writing think pieces before the dust had even settled. Back in the studio, the audience began to file out, still arguing amongst themselves. Some shook their heads in disapproval at Sunny. Others muttered that she'd said what needed to be said. But no one left the same. This wasn't just a celebrity interview gone wrong. It was a cultural momentan, unexpected examination of how we judge success, how we demand representation, and how we sometimes mistake aggression for accountability. Sunny sat at the table alone. Her earlier fire had dulled. The other hosts avoided her eyes. The production crew moved around her silently, like she was radioactive. Even the few audience members who had agreed with her now seemed wary. As the studio lights dimmed and the taping wrapped up in eerie quiet, a question hung over the space like smoke after a fire. Had Sunny exposed a hard truth about celebrity responsibility, or had she crossed a line that no journalist should ever cross? Depending on who you asked, the answer would differ. But one thing was clear. Michael B. Jordan's walk-off from The View had just become one of the most unforgettable moments in live television history. A moment where truth clashed with ego, passion clashed with presentation, and everyone involved left a little bruised. Was Sunny right, or did she lose sight of the very standard she claimed to uphold? Was Michael justified, or did he walk away from a conversation that could have sparked something greater? Those questions will linger on Twitter threads, in podcast episodes, at kitchen tables and classrooms, in living rooms and lecture halls. But maybe the biggest question is this. When we say we want truth from our celebrities, what kind of truth are we ready to receive? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the moments that redefine public conversation. Because sometimes, what happens on stage isn't just a story, it's a reflection of who we are.